So what does this mean? Sex is based on incentive. The incentive motivation concept was introduced to me in this book. Turn to page 230. She'll explain all. You can roll to the back in the bibliography and look at the supported cited sources. Knowledge is something you want to remain hungry for through life. But when people say the word drive, what they're actually talking about is desire. Desire is the mental want to engage in sexual activity. When we call it a drive, we insinuate that it's fixed or static, or that someone's broken if it's low. It's not fixed or static, it fluctuates. When someone is having low desire, it's usually correlated with something blocking them from accessing arousal. Now, sexual arousal is the body's physiological response and excitement for sexual activity. Indicators are breath rate changing, increased heart rate, increasing blood flow. This increased blood flow engorges tissue in certain areas that are pleasurable to touch. These are your erogenous zones. Pleasure is one of the incentives to engage in sexual activity. Without arousal, there's no pleasure. Now, one of the number one key components of accessing arousal is feeling safe. Because to get to arousal, you have to turn off the offs, which are your inhibition system. This is the part of your brain that scans your environment and says, I don't think I should be turned on right now. And the things that engage a person's inhibition system are subjective to the individual. Let's take cis men, for example. If you're a cis man and you're walking to your car at night, do you hold your keys in your hand like Wolverine? Likely not. You likely just walk to your vehicle. So you have the privilege of feeling less like prey in your day-to-day. So in a sexual situation, you have a lower percentage of feeling like prey. Therefore, you have a higher percentage of feeling safe. You have the privilege of easier access to your arousal. Because arousal is based on context. Context is your environment and your feelings about that environment. Arousal is so heavily based on context that there is no pink Viagra, because you can't simply increase blood flow to the pelvic region and increase desire for sex. Pfizer tried very hard and failed. And this is not just for AFAB bodies. There are young cis men who are experiencing ED that Viagra can't help because of corn addiction. They have skewed their view of what is sexually arousing by the amount of corn they are consuming. Tons of studies on this. Do a little Google. So what about hormones? Can't we just increase testosterone or estrogen and see a rise in desire? Not always. In AFAB bodies, this is the least likely culprit, because if the contributing factor in impeding arousal is connected to incomplete stress response cycles, unhealed trauma, unresolved conflict, body image issues, then HRT will have little to no effect. In contrast, you resolve conflict, complete your stress response cycle, heal your trauma, come to acceptance of your body image. You can have the most magnificent, satisfying sex of your life. Humans are more than the sum of their parts, and sex is way more than the sum of its mechanics.